Hello and welcome to AFSPA Live, our monthly digital broadcast designed to give AFSPA members and eligible federal employees a place to ask questions and get answers about past AFSPA Talks topics, their benefits, and wellness needs. You can ask your question through the chat box on whichever social media platform you're streaming AFSPA Live, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. If you're not able to join us live, call our toll-free line prior to the broadcast at 888-435-0757 and leave our team a voice message that we may play back and answer live on air. Just tell us who you are and the question you'd like us to answer. I'll see you at the next AFSPA Live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to AFSPA Live, a live Q&A broadcast session that we host every last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Maddie Norton. I'm a Senior Communication Coordinator at AFSPA, and I'll be moderating the show today. We are discussing financial wellness during times of transition, and we have two new guests for us for the first time on AFSPA Live. We have Greg Klingler from GEBA. He is the President and CEO. And then we have AFSPA's COO, Twanisha Johnson, with us. So everyone say hi. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Doing well, Maddie. How about yourself?
Doing good. We are so excited to have you guys on the show. And we know that it's going to be a great session today. And if you guys would like to just give a little more of an introduction to yourselves, I know the audience would love to hear that.
Absolutely. As you know, I'm a longtime watcher of
Absolutely.
Live. First time that I'm participating as a co-host, so I'm super excited to be here. As you mentioned, COO of AFSPA, I've been with the organization for about 7 years, really managing the internal operations of the organization. It's been a pleasure, and really, it's a pleasure to be here today to step in shoes as he steps away to attend to some other important matters today, but thankful to be here to represent AFSPA in this way, of course. And as you said, Maddie, I'm also excited about the conversation today. I think this is long overdue. And AFSPA, we've been friends for some time because, there are some commonalities in terms of who we serve. And I think our missions align in some really important and powerful ways. And it really wasn't until a few years ago that we actually launched a more formal partnership to serve our members. Of course, AFSPA, we bring the health insurance side of things, and GEBA, they do fill some gaps for us in terms of us being able to leverage their financial wellness support services for members. And so I think today's discussions will be pretty helpful to our members, particularly right now, given some of the unique challenges that are facing our demographic right now. I think it's important that we have discussions like this to provide the tools and resources that our members need to make informed decisions and to be able to adequately plan for their future. So thanks again, Greg, for being here. Just looking forward to the conversation.
My pleasure.
And Greg, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. When I sit in front of these meetings and I'm trying to learn, one of the first things I ask myself is, who is this guy and why do I care what they have to say, right? So my name is Greg Klingler. I'm the CEO and president of GEBA. I've been with GEBA since 2010. I've been a financial advisor since 2003, hold my certified financial planners designation. But what may be more important is we also hold a chartered federal employee consultant designation, which means we understand the federal benefits very, very well. We are, a partner with AFSPA. We were created right around the same time AFSPA was. We were 1957, so a little bit later. But we were designed to help the members of the National Security Agency, while AFSPA obviously was created to help the Foreign Service people. So we have a very, commonality in who we want to help, who we focus on. And, this time more than any other time, we were watching executive orders and what they're doing to a lot of the people who may be listening to this call. And we're just doing our best to help.
Absolutely. And Greg, sorry. If you could just give the audience a little brief summary of what GEBA is in case no one or our audience isn't familiar.
Absolutely. So one of the best ways I describe GEBA to when we speak in front of the Department of State is, okay, we are to the National Security Agency as AFSPA is to the Department of State.
Gotcha.
We're a not-for-profit organization created to provide something that OPM didn't exist to offer back in 1957. And we continue to try to meet the needs of our membership. Now, our membership has now expanded to the entire federal community, but we do have pretty deep roots, not as deep as AFSPA's, with the Department of State, USAID, and AFSPA in general, due to the relationship that we've created over the years.
All right. That was a great comparison and like metaphor for who we are. So good to hear. And I'll start off with one of the questions we got was, what types of insurance specifically does GEBA offer?
So we offer pretty much everything except for health insurance.
Right.
Dental, vision, term life, long-term disability, professional liability insurance. And we created this insurance program the NSA asked us to create back about 25 years ago that protects people if they have to travel because they are stationed abroad and they need to get to their loved ones ASAP. In addition, we offer financial planning, financial wellness, education, and all the products and services that go along with that.
Perfect. And I think, especially with like the federal employees, it's a unique, maybe audience is the word of just like, it's not the same for them to retire as it might be for someone like a teacher, for example, to retire, or someone in a corporate office. So I definitely think this is a good conversation to have. And especially with so many people transitioning into different jobs or transitioning into retirement. And I noticed while poking around on the website that GEBA categorizes a career into 4 stages. Can you describe what those different stages are?
Yeah, so I mean, loosely, we kind of lump people into different categories, and for the most part, it's accurate. But again, there's obviously people who are exceptions to the rule. So you got early career, right? Those are pretty simple, and it's about laying the groundwork for the future. Those conversations are generally pretty quick, talking about your TSP, what you're invested in, get your match, and then there may be some conversations about maybe first-time home buyers, maybe young children. Some of the more basic categories. As you get older and as you generate more wealth, more savings, more responsibilities, more risks, then we have mid-career. And some of those conversations just become a little bit longer. Kids, now we're always talking about focusing on planning for their college. Are we upgrading our home? Do we need more insurance? Do we have additional things to protect? Does insurance need to be upgraded? At this point, we probably have a little bit more in our TSP. Should we change what we're doing? Should we be entirely in equities like we were when we were young? Or should we start backing down in preparation for retirement in the distant future? The next step is effectively pre-retirement. This is kind of where all of your work, all of your savings, everything where the rubber hits the road, right? Okay, I have this TSP. I have this pension that has been created. I have subsidized federal health benefits. How are all these things going to effectively work together in the next couple of years to fund the retirement of my dreams? And do I need to make any changes between now and then to meet that need? Or do I need to maybe reconsider what my retirement goal is based on what I currently have? Now at GEBA, we can do a lot to get you from where you are to where you want to be if we have enough time. But there are times where we have to readjust what the goals are as well. And then lastly is effectively post-retirement. Okay, now I'm retired. Does that mean all my planning stops? Absolutely not. Where you retire or where you pull money from to fund that retirement is going to be very important. And depending on what the market does, that place may change. If the market's doing very well, maybe we pull from our equities. If the market's doing very poorly, maybe we pull from our fixed safe investments. And the idea is to make sure that your money lasts, number one. And then what we find is a lot of people who are lifers effectively in the federal government, they may be actually saving money in retirement. And then, so the question number 2 is, okay, if I have money and I'm planning on leaving money to heirs, what is the most efficient way to transition the money from me to the money to my heirs? Is it to convert to a Roth IRA? Is it to buy life insurance? Is it to use a trust? In many cases, it's a number of different different items that gets you to that general goal.
Gotcha. So. Good to hear. And, I as well, I saw that you guys have something called GEBA Wealth Management. And since we're talking about financial wellness, what is GEBA Wealth Management?
Well, it started off right when we transitioned from the old pension to the new pension back in 1982. We started offering just very, very simple fixed investments. In 2017, we were sitting on about $300 million of our members' money, helping them do various things. And it occurred to us that, we can do more to help. So we hired certified financial planners. We ensured that we were licensed and experts in federal benefits. And we really rolled out full service financial planning, where we can do a full financial plan, or we can do any aspect of that financial plan that our membership or our potential membership needs. And we found that it was really well received, number one, and we also found that we did a lot of good when we started working with people. And as a nonprofit organization, we're in a bit of a unique situation where we don't necessarily have to worry about generating big money. So our fees are about half of that of the market. And we do something which I consider to be unique and something I'm very proud of. We do a financial plan before somebody becomes a client, because our thought is, how are we going to give you the best advice if we don't know you?
Right.
So because we do things a little bit differently, we feel like we can do a lot of good in the process.
That is a great point. And I think we definitely had some questions from members about, how to pick a financial planner, and knowing that you guys get to have that process, especially before they become a member, makes it very individualized, I feel like. And I feel like that's great, especially when you're entrusting someone with your money, essentially.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
True.
All right. So I know you touched on it a little bit, but what specific services are offered with GEBA Wealth Management?
So we're a full service financial planning organization. So basically anything that your big firms of the world can do, we can do. We have contracts with about 56 different insurance carriers, because risk mitigation does fall under the category of financial planning. We have 60 or a little bit over 60 money managers that we use. We have 72 mutual funds that we can use. We have all these tools in our financial toolbox, if you will. And the goal is to understand, who our membership are, who the person we're talking to is, what they want. And we use these tools in our financial toolbox in addition to their benefits as a federal employee. And we try to get them to, again, where they are to where they want to be. And we have found that we're pretty good at it.
Absolutely. And it looks like we have a question from the audience, and it actually is a question that we had prepared for later in the show. So this is perfect timing. Mary has said that I will be RIF'd from USAID on September 2nd, and I am not retirement eligible, and I don't have a new position lined up yet. What general financial advice do you have, and does GEBA offer personalized support?
So to answer the last question first, yes, we absolutely do offer personalized support. And we've dealt with, at this point, probably about 350 people just like yourself since those executive orders have been coming out. I just want to kind of take a moment and just step back and say, this is a scary time. Uncertainty, at least at this point, you have some certainty with the September 2nd date. But we've seen fear make very smart people make very bad decisions. So one of the first steps, as we start looking at this uncertainty or this fear of the unknown in the future, what we need to do is we need to create some certainty. We need to figure out where you are. And that's in many cases where a financial plan or some sort of financial analysis comes in. Okay, how much money do you have in your bank account? How long is that going to float you where you don't really need to work and you can find the right job for yourself? How much money is in your TSP? Is it accessible? You mentioned you're not pension eligible, but what exactly does that mean? Does that mean you're going to be part of deferred pension, or are you going to be part of the postponed pension? Because they work very differently. The postponed pension is actually a much more friendly type of pension that allows you to maintain health insurance when you choose to roll into your pension. So these are all questions that frankly need to be answered. And hopefully what number one we can do is provide some certainty to the people who have a lot of questions. Certainty alleviates fear. And then we can start talking about what to do next in a thoughtful way. So I wish I had a very specific answer for you, but that's kind of the process we go through, and we're definitely happy to go through that process with you.
That is great to hear. And Mary, thank you again for that question. They also responded and said, thank you. I may be interested in a one-time financial planning session if that's an option.
Absolutely. And I probably should mention, when we meet with somebody, it is free and it is no obligation. So in a lot of ways, we can get you answers very, very quickly. And because we're nonprofit, free and no obligation.
That is great to hear. So hopefully that can help you out, Mary. And again, sorry for being RIF'd, and hopefully this will bring you some comfort in this time. So we will jump to some other questions around the same topic. Someone asked, do I lose my life insurance if I lose/change jobs?
Okay, and that's another kind of, multi-layer question. So the first question is, how are you losing the job? Is it through traditional retirement? And I would define those VERAs and the deferred resignations in many cases as full retirement. And then we have one kind of step down the line, postponed retirement. And then we have deferred retirement. Let me just quickly tell you the difference. Full retirement, obviously, you retire, full pension, and you maintain all of your health insurance, life insurance, everything. As long as you want it, you keep it. Then we have the postponed retirement. So these are for people who you are of minimum retirement age. So that's in most cases 57 for FERS employees. For FSPS, foreign service pensioners, that's age 50. You effectively can take your pension when you become age and service number of years of service eligible. From the time you leave to the time you take it, that's the postponement. At the time you take it, you can turn back on your health insurance, you can turn back on your FEGLI, and you get unreduced pension. So postponement's pretty good, but you just got to figure out what to do with your insurance between the postponement and the taking the pension when you become pension eligible. Not to get too deep, a lot of people use COBRA to go through, to basically fill that gap. And then the last one we have is deferred pension. And unfortunately with deferred pension is you get let go and you have to wait till you become service and age eligible. And at that point you can turn on your pension, but you don't get to turn on your insurance. So where you fall into would ultimately define how I answered that question. If you're before the age of 57 for FERS employee or 50 for FSPS employees, then the answer is you would lose your insurance. You have to find an alternative means to figure that out. But again, keep in mind, you do have that gap. It's called COBRA. If you get RIF'd, I believe it's 36 months. If you choose retirement, the deferred resignation, I believe it is 18 months. That'll allow you to bridge that gap, but it is all on your dime. It is not subsidized.
Gotcha. Good to know. I know, that life insurance is very important. I know I'm contributing to one through my job, so I would definitely want to know if I change jobs, where's it all go? And another question, what happens to your 401k once you leave a job? Okay,
so when we say 401k, I'm assuming we're talking about the thrift savings plan, the federal version of the 401k. If you leave the job and you're over the age of 55, whether you're pension eligible or not, you can start taking your TSP immediately, which is a bit early because IRAs, for instance, require you to wait till you're 59 and a half, just for your reference. And I'd also just caution everybody, if you are 55, but not 59 and a half, and you're leaving federal service and you're going to need that money, you're going to need to have some of that money in a TSP, and you should not roll all of the money into an IRA. Because again, TSP, provided you're age 55 and you separate from service, that money becomes accessible, whether you're pension eligible or not. If you retire before age 55, and this is a bit of a weird nuance of the system, if you retire before age 55, that money is not going to be eligible until you're 59 and a half. Now, there are loopholes. One of the easiest loopholes is what they call the separate and equal periodic payments. If you need the money and you retire before the age of 55, the TSP does allow you to take out separate, equal, and periodic payments that have to be at least 5 years and have to last past age 59 and a half. And if they do that, they're not going to charge you a penalty on that money. And that's
great. That's good to know. I feel like I'm learning so much about where money goes and the different types of like money saving things that we have for federal employees. So I hope everyone else is thinking, or this is just as educational as I feel. I'll throw to Twanisha now. We did get a question.
So I'm sorry, one other item I just want to add.
Oh, yeah.
So the TSP allows one calculation for that separate, equal, and periodic payment, which in many cases is going to be the smallest amount. If you need more than that, there are 2 other calculations that can be used from an IRS perspective, but that does involve you having to roll your money into an IRA.
Gotcha. All right. Twanisha, I know we've gotten this question, and I know we've also had members calling. How long does my health insurance last if I lose my job?
Yeah, that's a really good question, an important question right now, right? When a federal government employee, when their employment ends, they automatically get a 31-day extension in their existing FEHB plan. So that 31 days. And then during that 31 days, upon completion of those 31 days, they have the option, and Greg talked a little bit about this in terms of COBRA, they have the option to enroll in what we call TCC, which is temporary continuation of coverage. It's essentially the federal government's equivalent of COBRA. As Greg mentioned, they can continue coverage for up to 18 months from the separation date, so that those 18 months actually include the 31-day window that they're given at the very start. So 18 months from the separation date. In terms of premium responsibilities under the TCC, the individual, the subscriber is responsible for the full premium. So they would pay their share plus the government contribution as well. In addition to that, we typically do see a 2% admin fee on top of that as a part of the total cost. And then once the TCC expires, you get an additional 31-day extension at the end of it. Just during that window, it gives you an opportunity to transition to an alternative plan at that point. So it's the 31 days in the beginning, 18-month period of coverage, and then a 31-day cushion at the very end of that coverage period.
That is great to know. And if you want to learn more about temporary continuation of coverage, we have the QR code up, and you can look at more into that. And then, of course, if you have questions about your health insurance coverage, feel free to call our office. Obviously, we have our HBOs ready to answer the phones and help you navigate this new time in your life. I'll go ahead and start or ask a question about retirement. I am 5 years away from retirement. How should I prepare?
Well, that's actually a perfect amount of time in a lot of cases. Most people find that time, a 5-year time frame is pretty much ideal. So the first thing is to figure out, okay, where you're at. Where are you at? I mean, obviously, you've probably done a lot of things in the past, which may not have been completely organized, but it was really, really good, like investing in your TSP, getting the match, being invested in some sort of equities like the C fund or the S fund or the I fund, and you saw that growth. Maybe you maybe you have a second house, which you can use to fund retirement down the road. A lot of people that we talk to for the first time have a lot of these things. And the key is, okay, now let's start organizing. Let's put in a financial plan. Let's see what these tools in your financial toolbox are going to get you, and how close are we to getting to where you want to be in your future based on your planned retirement budget, your goals for travel, your potential for risk, like the cost of long-term care or the cost of health insurance, and just putting that all together. 5 years generally gives us the ability to do one of two things. Make changes, like maybe take more equity exposure or less equity exposure to increase your odds of success. Or if somebody has some really, really outlandish goals in retirement, maybe to make those realistic and plan around those as well. But 5 years is the perfect time to start really digging in and doing a financial plan.
Gotcha.
And I think that's also important. You're right, Greg. I think 5 years is a crucial or a really good amount of time to start thinking about that. From a health insurance perspective, one of the things that you need to consider if you're wanting to bring your insurance into retirement, right, is have you been in an FEHB plan for at least 5 years? That's one of the qualifying or one of the things that makes you eligible to carry that into retirement. So I think that's helpful for people to know as they're looking 5 years out to think about that and what their plans on for insurance after they retire.
Twanisha, as soon as you spoke up, I realized that was one thing that I forgot to mention. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Doing great.
I'll go ahead and jump to some questions, definitely around the topic of retirement. We had Mary ask, how should I navigate moving from a house to a retirement facility?
Okay, so I think that's another one of these kind of layered questions. So if somebody asks me this question, I have three underlying questions. Okay, when, why, and how are we going to pay for it?
Right.
So I'm guessing at this point, the when has been answered maybe by Mary S. Most people enter retirement facilities, what are called CCRCs or continuing care retirement communities, when they're relatively young and relatively healthy, typically in their 70s. And then they age in place, and these facilities can offer additional care as care is required. So if we assume that the when is answered and you're healthy, maybe you had some good friends or family members pass away, you're now looking at the next stage in your life. That also kind of answers the why question. And then the last question is, okay, how am I going to pay for this? Most people pay for the entrance fee into a continuing care retirement community with the sale of their primary residence. And that's typically more than enough, especially with equities as they are today, more than enough to cover the entrance fee. And then the monthly fees in these facilities generally look like very, very expensive HOAs. And the question is, okay, what are we going to use to pay for that? Most time, federal employees are going to use their pensions to pay for this. If you need care and you fulfill the definition of needing long-term care from a long-term care insurance perspective, and you own long-term care insurance, the benefit can actually be used to pay for that monthly fee. And I know there's a QR code right there. If you have questions about the cost of long-term care, where you retire absolutely matters. The difference between Texas and Connecticut, the cheapest and the most expensive, is more than double.
Wow.
So not only from a state tax standpoint, but also from a cost mitigation for long-term care perspective, where you retire matters. And I imagine there are people on the call who are looking at not the United States, but to look to retiring elsewhere. And those questions still remain.
Absolutely. And looks like we got another question from Mary from YouTube. And they asked, if we elect the TCC, aka COBRA option for health insurance, do we also continue to have access to the related services / organizations like AFSPA and GEBA? So a joint question for both of you.
Twanisha, you want to take it first? I'll take it second.
For the TCC, that's a good question. I'd like to circle back just to triple check on AFSPA specific, but Greg, go ahead, please answer the GEBA side.
Okay, so as a nonprofit organization, we do have to have a certain tie to membership. So our tie to membership is a financial relationship. So we allow for people who are active employees or people who are pension eligible, which means they have 5 years of service. We use kind of the widest definition we possibly can. Doesn't matter your age, as long as you have 5 years of service and you're resigned or retired, you are eligible for GEBA membership, which means you can start by buying a plan post-employment.
Gotcha.
You can, if you're employed with less than 5 years, again, you have a financial relationship, you can absolutely sign up for any GEBA plan. And it is important to note that our plans, dental, vision, they're all portable. We don't have health insurance, but we have everything else, and our plans are portable. So you can continue that protection for your family, whether you're employed by the federal government or not.
Great. And that is, I'm sure, reassuring to hear for many. Twanisha, do you want to circle back?
Yeah, and so similarly with AFSPA, in addition to the dental coverage and the health insurance that we provide, our members do have access to that. Again, the rules that I outlined before in terms of the premium payments and what they would be responsible for, that would look different, but your coverage would still remain the same for the period that you're covered under the TCC.
Great, that is good to hear. I'll jump to some other questions. Lots of Marys today, but another question from a Mary is, how do I check the record/success of a financial advisor before engaging with them? That's a good question.
Okay, so I wish I could tell you that there was some website that provided you every rate of return of every financial advisor out there. That website does not exist, and frankly, that website would be tough to understand because if I had an 85-year-old employee planning to use their money in the next 5 years, I would be investing much more conservatively with less potential for returns.
Right.
Contrast that with a 60-year-old who may not be using the money for 15 years because of their pension and their Social Security. We would be mostly equities, which would have a much higher risk-reward combination. So just because the 85-year-old made less money than the 60-year-old does not mean that I did my job any better or any worse with either one of those groups of people. But with that being said, there is a way to check somebody's background. And when I say background, I mean history of complaints. So this is a federal website, www.finra.org. And it allows you to look at the background of any financial advisor you're looking at. So it's going to look at complaints. It's going to give you a description of the complaint, and it's going to talk about how the complaint was remedied, or if it was determined to be not really eligible for complaint status. And you'll see all that on the website. Now, once you start a conversation with a financial advisor, the next step is to make sure that it's somebody that you trust, make sure somebody that that you are comfortable with their knowledge base, and make sure somebody who aligns with your values. Because ultimately you're buying a person who's going to in fact then recommend products. Okay. And then once you get to that point, then they should be providing you with an illustration, provided they got enough information from you, and that illustration is going to talk about returns. If any financial advisor decides to skip some of those steps and doesn't get enough information to give you good quality advice, those would be question marks that I definitely want to have answered before I sign up with them.
Absolutely. And like Greg mentioned about FINRA, this QR code goes directly to that site and provides you a bunch of resources. So thank you, Greg, for giving us that link. We'll ask a couple of last questions and then we'll wrap up. We did get a question from Michelle, and Michelle said, how should we approach financial planning if our household has one or more federal employees and we're concerned about stability?
That is a tough question. Obviously, uncertainty is a really big concern, and then uncertainty drives fear, and fear drives potentially bad decisions. So again, the first thing that I would always say is, okay, get organized. Let's figure out what you have. Let's figure out what protections you have in place that you put in pensions you're eligible for. Let's figure out what insurance you have, both offered by the federal government, but also maybe you bought something in the private sector. Let's look at your mortgage payment. Let's look at your safety net reserve, your bank account. Let's look at your TSP and figure out what do you have access to. And then once we have all that information, then we can start talking about what we should do in the future. We deal with a lot of federal employees who both members of the family are federal employees, some of which are more protected than others based on where they work. But the key really is to understand what you have, and that allows us to make thoughtful strategic plans going forward. And then also allows us to determine, there's been a lot of money thrown around to convince federal employees to retire voluntarily. The VERA allows people to retire early with full pensions and immediate insurance. The deferred resignation allows people to sit on administrative leave for an extended period of time. That may be something you can take advantage of, provided you're comfortable going forward.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add the QR code for this. If you are looking to get into a financial planning session, this is the QR code for that, with GEBA, obviously. So definitely scan that if you're interested. And We got another question that was too long to fit into our boxes, but I wanted to make sure we covered it. And this will be for Twanisha. And someone asked, if a spouse has been covered by Aetna for 10 plus years as a beneficiary and retires at age 65, and the primary elects early retirement at age 50, can the spouse continue to receive health care through Aetna and switch to the primary to cover the younger primary? Or do both members lose benefits because health care isn't carried into early retirement?
Yeah, this is tricky. Just like Greg said, there are multiple layers to this when trying to answer a question like this. So yes, assuming that they're talking about foreign service benefit plan and coverage there, I would need just a little more information to provide a complete and thorough answer. But in short, if the beneficiary dependent spouse in this case was a federal government employee before they retired, they are eligible to take on the role as subscriber policyholder for the Foreign Service Benefit Plan in retirement. So that's good news there. Depending on the circumstances of the existing subscriber, if they were eligible for an immediate annuity, we talked a little bit about this earlier, and they had an FEHB plan for at least 5 years, they're eligible to carry that coverage into retirement, right? So how do you know if you're eligible for an immediate annuity? Depends on when you retire, like the age in which you're retiring, and or the number of years of service in federal government. So it just depends. And so again, I'd recommend that it sounds like this member might have done some research before asking the question, but if not, certainly have some additional conversations with HR representatives or even follow up with us to talk about your unique circumstances so that we can provide you with a complete answer. But yes, it sounds like if the person was a federal government employee prior to retirement, they would be able to take on that role as primary policyholder.
Gotcha. Good to know. Thank you for answering that long question. And thank you to whoever submitted it. We appreciate that. And I'll end off with one last question for Greg. If someone is new to GEBA membership, what resources do you recommend they check out first?
Well, it's because we offer such a wide variety of services and products, except for health insurance.
Right.
I would say if you're on this call, it means you're probably leaning towards needing, financial advice or financial planning, probably more so than other items. So if that's the case, I would recommend reaching out to us and, starting a conversation, hopefully getting your questions answered. Sometimes, the questions can be answered in the matter of minutes. Sometimes it involves a couple of meetings on a financial plan. But either way, GEBA's got you covered. Just let us know how we can help you through this pretty difficult time.
Absolutely. And I'll put up just a general QR code for GEBA and all the webinars and resources that are offered there. So definitely scan that if you're interested. I'm going to do a rapid fire upcoming events and we will end the show. If you didn't already know, we offer multiple webinars during each month through Prudential. So if you are interested in similar topics to the one that we have today, definitely check out afspa.org/events. I believe we have our next one on August 5th. So definitely check those out. I believe that one's on Social Security benefits as well. So definitely a great topic, especially if you're looking into retirement or just don't know anything about Social Security. I might check it out. So definitely look out there. I think we have 3 in August, and AFSPA Live will be at the end of the month on August 28th. And you can tune into that either at 11 a.m. or you can watch it at any time on our YouTube channel at AFSPA Cares. And if you're wanting to watch this episode again, or if you want to recommend it to someone, or if you want to watch any of our last live streams, once again, they're all there on our YouTube. And if you're wanting to keep up with the latest information, definitely check out our website or follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at AFSPA Cares. And I just want to say thank you both so much, Twanisha and Greg, for joining us today. This has been such a lovely conversation and very helpful, I hope, for our members. I know it's been educational for me, and I hope everyone enjoyed. And any last comments, questions, concerns from Twanisha or Greg?
No, just thank you, Maddie. And again, I just want to reiterate, Greg, our appreciation for you and the partnership that we have with GEBA. I really enjoyed being able to learn a little bit from you today as well, and leverage your expertise to better support our members. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks for watching our broadcast. Join us again the last Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, don't forget to look for AFSPA Cares on all of our social media channels: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.